book friends, and happy Saturday for us in Central Time US. And what a great way to start the weekend than to hang out with some friends and get some reading done. I don't know about you guys, but I am really trying to finish something before the end of the month, and I needed the motivation. So I invited some friends here to help motivate me. So some of you may already know Derry and Amanda. For those that don't, so let's go ahead and let you ladies introduce yourself. We'll start with Derry.
Fine. I'm Derry. I have a channel, Derry's read it before, where I talk about the books I'm the most familiar with, and I try and do it in a non-spoiler way, just to kind of give people an idea what they might be getting into. But yeah, that's me. And I haunt a lot of Discords. So if you've ever read Robin Hobb and you've commented in a Discord, you've probably spoken to me.
Yes, Derry is our go-to person for Robin Hobb discussions, for sure. She's read them all many times. You say Robin Hobb would be your favorite author?
And not surprising to anyone who's seen my channel, and Terry Pratchett. But you can't kind of rank them. They're two different, but they're both right up there. So, yeah.
And then Amanda.
Okay, I am Amanda, and I am just reading everything. So when I started my channel, I predominantly just read what is the subgenre of romance as paranormal romance, and that was all that I had read for years and years. And then I started a channel, and I was like, oh, what is fantasy? And so now I'm kind of hooked on everything. And starting, based on Derry's advice, with The Witches, I will be starting in May. I know. I'm so excited.
That's so exciting. Because they've yesterday, they've just released new Audible books for The Witches with all new sound quality, which is amazing. Because the old ones are horrendous. The sound quality is so bad. And well, because they're old. And it was like, no one cared about audiobooks. And they were recorded on like cassettes. I mean, not good. Right. But they've done like awesome production and great people. And so exciting.
That's the predominant way I like to read anyway. So that's perfect.
Yeah.
So
is it like a full cast?
Kind of. They've got main people for each sub-series. So they've just released The Witches and Small Gods. And Small Gods is one of the standalone books in Discworld. And they've got Andy Serkis doing that one from Gollum from Lord of the Rings. And
that's what I just
really looking forward to.
Yeah, I just did all of his Lord of the Rings. I just listened to it last year, and it was all of his.
So he does Small Gods. Indira Varma, who played Ilaria Sand in the Game of Thrones TV show, she's voicing the Witches books. And they've got one guy, Peter Serafinovich, or Winch. He's doing the voice of Death in all of the books. And Bill Nighy, who will you know him from? From Love Actually, the old rock star. He is doing the voice of the footnotes in all of the books. So, yeah, it's really exciting. Who else is doing them?
I can't wait.
I'm excited about it.
I have guards on my TBR, but I haven't started it yet.
So good.
So we got Maza here.
You're first.
Hey, Maza.
It's still early for Maza. Unlike us, who are already in Saturday, he still has a couple hours before he's in Saturday. So happy Friday!
Oh, heavens!
Is it Nicole?
It's Nicole.
Nicole. Okay, I'm sorry if I've not called you by your name before, but I'm trying to pay attention, people. Try to pay attention. Nicole, thank you for joining us today. What are you guys reading?
Yeah. I am nearly finished The Blade Itself. I'm trying to get this one finished by the end of the month. And I've not read it before, and I'm really enjoying it. It's really good. So yeah, I'm at 94%. So I should.
Is that the first one?
Yeah, it's the first law.
Okay,
because I said I want to start reading some Joe Abercrombie because everyone speaks so highly of it, and Leanna who loves Joe Abercrombie, said, "Yep."
I read the whole trilogy back to back. So I read books 1, 2, and 3 at the end of last year. And so in my brain, I don't even know what happens in what book. Like they have all run together. And so I just am like, I feel like that's the first book. Like I knew it was one of the, but I can't even talk about them without letting the person go first and say like, where are you and what has happened? Because I feel like if I don't know where the books end, but I am reading Eru Shah and the End of Time. Let me see if I can.
Well, that's pretty.
Got a lot of. It is. It's one of those. It's a middle grade. I started it because of Amy's role, and I had to find a middle grade book that had an animal companion. But then also, I'm reading for the magical readathon, the Aurelium spring semester thing that G at Book Roast has created this entire thing, and we're at school this semester. And my character had one class left, and it was a book that was based on some kind of mythology or that was inspired by mythology. So Paige from Pages with Paige helped me find this one, and that's what I started on the last sprint. And I'm already like 30% of the way through or something. It's a middle grade, so wow, I'm definitely going to be able to finish that.
So to answer Mazza here, I did not intend to do games because I really, really intend to read this time for this sprint.
And what are you reading, Stacey?
So I am reading The Legacy of the Brightwash. It's a fantasy. Originally, at the beginning of the book,
PBOs?
I think she is one of the finalists. And it is really good. I originally thought it was kind of like a fantasy mystery, but it's more fantasy than mystery. There is a mystery, but I wouldn't say it's like your typical detective type mystery. But it's so good. And I don't want to say anymore because I went into it not knowing anything. And I'm glad I did, because it means that I'm totally not expecting what's happening, if that makes sense. So the author is a great person. She's been on Steve's channel, and her name's I think it's Crystal. It's spelled different, but I think she pronounced it Crystal Matar. And I really like it. I've got 50 pages left, and I think I could do it today during these sprints. And so if I finish it, I don't want to start anything big because I want to try, if I start anything today, I want to try to finish it. So I'm planning on reading See You When the World Ends by Simon Paul Wilson. And it's a novella, so it's not very long. And I read his Ghost City Girls book with Steve a couple months ago, and I loved it. It was a ghost story, but it took place in a futuristic city, and it's also kind of sci-fi speculative. It was awesome. So I'm looking forward to reading this too. So those are my plans. And then it looks like Nicole says that, thank you to Derry for talking about Robin Hobb.
It just makes me so happy.
I love it.
Other people have found it. Oh.
She just jumped right in. She's purchased the first, waiting on book 3. Like, I read Assassin's Apprentice the beginning of this year, January. It was Brandy's pick for her birthday. She picked that for me to read, and it was fantastic.
So I have a story to tell you guys. I may have already told, Derry may have already heard this, but I picked up Assassin's Apprentice years ago. I'm talking 10 years ago when I got my Kindle, and they used to have a free Kindle. They used to have a whole bunch of free Kindles, ebooks. I mean, they still do, but back then it was like every month they would have a whole set of books for free. And so I would just go and download them. I've never heard of them before, and I would just download every book they had, and then I never read them. Well, a friend of mine told me, I just saw that the Kindle is downloading or has the Assassin's Apprentice for free. You have to read it. So I went and got it, and then didn't read it. And then 2 or 3 years ago, I finally did. And I didn't like it. I thought it was okay. Yeah. I was just like, it was good, but I don't think I'm going to continue the series. I know. And so then last year, Leslie read the Magic Ship. Is it Magic Ship?
Yep,
Ship
the
of
live
Magic.
ships, yeah.
Live
Yeah.
track.
And she loved it. And I was like, well, maybe that's more up my alley. I really wanted to get into Robin Hobbs. So I went and read that, and I fell in love with her writing. So I went back. I was like, I couldn't, after people had told me, hey, you're going to get spoiled slightly for the original trilogy if you keep going, I went back and reread Assassin's Apprentice and the others. And I've been a convert. Maybe I wasn't in the right mindset when I read Assassin's Apprentice. So.
The name
But
doesn't
that's my
help.
story.
It
doesn't,
the name
because
really
he's
doesn't
not.
help. It's a coming of age story. There's nothing about it that's like high excitement and murder, and it's not that. It's not an action book. And so if you've gone into it thinking that's what you're going to get, you're not going to be happy at all.
No, and I also thought, because I'd had it for so long, I had it in my mind it was a traditional fantasy, with happy endings. So my heart was broken so many times in that first book that I was mad at Robin Hobb, and I was like, I'm not reading her anymore. And now I've learned to accept the sadness.
Feel the pain. Yeah.
I mean,
I think of her as like a bridge series between the old traditional fantasy and what we now see as modern fantasy. She kind of sits right in the middle, and I love it so much.
Well, I think that it made it okay. So I don't think I'm giving anything away by saying that the story is being told by somebody about what happened to him as a child. So we know immediately that he's living through this book. And so I think in order just to be able to add some kind of tension, there had to be things that happened, just because you can't be like, well, we know he lives, so you can't keep threatening for him to die, because we know that's not going to happen. That would just get old. And anyway, I absolutely loved it, but I'm so character driven that I would read a book about a wonderful character just sitting at their house doing nothing. Like, if I like the character, I'll read about them doing anything. So.
Well, then you'll love Assassin's Quest.
You really will.
I gave it 5 stars. I loved it, but a lot of people say it's boring because, it's all about him.
I use it as the litmus test for people who read Hobb, because how people react to Assassin's Quest usually indicates how they're going to go with the whole saga. If you love Assassin's Quest, this is going to be one of your all-time favorite series. Guaranteed. Yay. If you like it, if you're like, yeah, that was pretty good, don't have a problem with it, you'll get to the end of it and go, that was not a waste of my time. I may not go there again, but it was good. If you struggle with Assassin's Quest, just stop. You're not going to get joy from this series. If you can't hang out with Fitz for that long, there is no joy for you here.
Yeah. But if you love him, you'll love Assassin's Quest, because and so many questions are answered in that book. To me, that was just like, but then so many more questions come up, and you don't get the answers until apparently much later in the series. So I'm still waiting to find out. Maza, Berserk, isn't that a manga?
For book 1. Yeah, because Jimmy's reading Berserk. Yeah.
I've seen it, but I don't know anything about it.
I haven't heard of it.
It looks a bit extreme for me. Like,
dark.
Yeah. It looks like it needs lots of trigger warnings.
Saf is joining us.
Hey, Saf.
Hi, Saf. Are you Saf? Are you reading anything with us today? And then it looks like Nicole is Sunday Best by Robbie Neal. I've not heard of that. I haven't even heard of Robbie Neal. So it's a memoir. Is Robbie Neal, hopefully a famous person? I'm so sorry.
She's in Australia.
Maybe very good story to tell.
So Nicole says she's all in. So I guess she's not even going to hesitate. I really hope you like him. I have not met somebody who didn't get something, at least out of that first trilogy. So even if you don't decide to move forward with the rest of the books, I think you'll still enjoy the Farseer trilogy, because I really like coming of age stories. They're
Yeah.
some of my favorite. And when you do that with fantasy and you do it well, I honestly am concerned about Tawny Man because Fitz is already grown now. So it's like, how much more character development can you get?
Oh, honey.
So I'm a little nervous.
I mean, Farseer takes Fitz from age 6 to age about 18, and Tawny Man picks up when he's 35. So there's
he's still got a lot of life.
And then and then the final trilogy picks up when he's 47, and then it kind of speeds through a few years to catch you up. So really, he's around 50 when that starts, and he's got lots of growth to go through. And if you don't love Fitz, it's still worth reading the Live Ship Traders because that's not Fitz-centric. So there's 2 solid trilogies there for new readers. If you read the first one and go, Fitz is not my favorite, still read Live Ships. It's awesome. And you're good to go from there.
I just
Nicole
Googled Robbie Neal. She is Australian. She lives in County Victoria. Hold on. She has lived in Country Victoria, Australia for most of her life. So.
Okay. Fair enough.
Good to know I'm going in with an open mind. All right.
I wish the books were
Saf
even
is
longer,
reading.
honestly. I would be happy. I would be happy if they just kept going forever.
Saf is reading We Were Promised Spotlights, a YA queer dark. Is it dark fantasy? I haven't heard of that one. Or is it just a contemporary? And here she says that she's a Robbie Neal is a woman that grew up in a Baptist home, and it says she ran away with the heroin act. Ooh, jeez.
That sounds like me.
Okay. She definitely has a story.
What do we not know about you, Amanda?
The first half.
There's some backstory there.
Okay. So, is everybody ready? You got your books? You got your coffee?
Yeah.
Ready for some reading? Yeah. And I'm not because I haven't set up my timer yet. So give me a second.
It's okay. My headphones are all tangled up, so I'm not ready.
Lack of preparation, guys. Come on.
Yes.
I know. Okay, I'm ready. Oh, okay, now I'm ready.
So I'm curious if anybody, when you read, if you aren't listening to an audiobook, do you like to have noise? Like, do you listen to ambient music, or like I like fireplace sounds or rain, that kind of thing when I'm reading? How about you guys? Anybody in the chat?
I usually have some kind of noise, only because there are other people in my house and they're almost always watching TV or doing something that makes noise. And so I will usually turn on music, just like background stuff, so that I don't have to hear whatever's happening around me.
Yeah. I prefer to have white noise happening, but I get ringing in my ears, so there's always noise.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, it's shocking.
All right. So I think I got this working now. So if you do listen to it, you guys like open up YouTube, or do you have like a white noise machine?
I usually put on Spotify and just put on 80s ballads.
Some kind of background music, yeah.
Yeah.
So Nicole says she likes rain sounds and nighttime sound. Sometimes I try to pick something that's, atmospheric that matches the book. So I was reading something recently where a lot of the book took place in like the woods. And so I went and found like forest sounds. So it was like wind through leaves and stuff like that. And it was that was a cool experience.
I can't do that.
So not like a real forest.
You'd freak yourself out, is that what you said?
If I was reading a scary book and it was like outside and it had outside noises, no. Like, no. I'm scared enough as it is. I don't need to add to it.
When we were reading,
developed the creak, and it gave me the shits last night out of nowhere. This creaking door opening. I was like, ah!
when we were reading Lily, Daniel Barnett's Lily, I put on snow, a blizzard sound and fireplace, because you're in the cold a good portion of that book, so that kind of added to the atmosphere. It was fun.
That's cool.
Okay, is everybody up for 30 minutes?
Yeah, that sounds
Yep.
good.
All right, let's get started then. See you guys in 30. Time's up.
Perfect timing. I just finished the book.
Awesome.
I'm reading the next book next month. That's for sure.
So you enjoyed it?
I did. Very much. So, took me a
I
while to read.
got 18 pages. Not bad.
Yay!
I didn't look to see
You'll knock that out.
what percentage I was at, but I think I was around 37 and I'm at 42% now. So
Nice.
Hey, Saf read 61 pages.
wow.
Tell me most of those are pictures, so I don't feel bad.
Sometimes
And
the
good
rush
morning.
that just sort of ended in a
So,
violence.
Beauty Chem Cam. What do you have a name you prefer us to call you by besides Beauty? Beauty's not a bad name. We could call you that.
Pretty good name.
So we're all reading different stuff. So if you're talking about dairy, she just finished The Blade Itself.
Yeah. My very first Abercrombie.
Yeah, it's good.
It ended with a rush. I was like, oh. Yeah.
So Amanda is reading. How do you pronounce it? Aru
Shah and the
Arusha.
End of Time. Apparently, there's 4 or 5 of them. I have them on my list because somebody talked about them during a middle grade reading thing, but I didn't plan to read them until it popped up for a prompt and I needed to. So it's been good, but it's one of those, like middle grade, didn't know, but your father is a god kind of thing. And then you're going into the middle. Yeah. So
I didn't realize how many tropes I knew until I found BookTube. And I'm like, yeah, I know that trope. Oh, yeah, I know that trope.
Kitty. Okay.
Kitty, you got it. That's what we'll call you. Sorry, it's just some people I don't know names.
No.
I'm bad with names, and if it has your handle on there, I'm like, I don't know what to call you except by your handle.
Well, the whole first time we met Nicole, I called her Dusty because it said Dusty Booksniffers. And I was like, wait, I don't think that's her name. So
Would have been kind of cool if it was, though.
right.
Yeah, that would be a cool name if that was her actual name. So Nicole says she got 20 pages.
Everyone
Keep talking to me. There is nothing more annoying when you're reading.
I thought everyone at my house was asleep, but in the middle of the sprints, I heard a child in the kitchen. I think they might be cooking, but they're gone now. But
Well, did they make any for you?
Yeah.
I hope not. It's 1 a.m., so I do not want to eat right now. I do have a package of crackers in case I'm about to fall asleep, and I'm like, I'll have
You're about to fade away.
Yeah, just stay awake. That's it.
Funny.
So Seth says it's an easy read. I'm worried if I slow down, I'll stop reading. Yeah, especially when it's late, because I think they're also in Central Time, so it's almost 1 a.m. for them as well.
Wow.
As us. And Nicole says, "Well, I better change my name. Just call me Dusty."
No.
Okay, so oh my god, I can't wait to finish this book, you guys. I really do think you'll like
You're
this.
so close.
Book. Yeah. I'm so glad I picked it up.
Tell me the name of it one more time. I'm going to make sure I have it on my list.
Legacy of the Bright Wash by Crystal Matar. And
it's
on Kindle Unlimited.
Is Brightwash all one word?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there it is. Okay.
Because I'm seeing it on the SF, whatever it is, the competition. And it's like
it's one of those books. Yeah, it's one of those books that everybody's been talking about how great it is. And so I put it on my TBR and I literally did not know what it was about. And the cover is kind of misleading because I don't know if you're looking at, you see the cover.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it makes sense when you read the book, but I just thought it was something different. I thought the story was different, and it's just so much better.
I mean, it looks like somebody is like branded, and it's the back of their neck. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so
4
this is book
p.m.
1. How many books are out?
Only this one.
Yes,
Oh,
just
We're
let me-
getting
released.
the next one.
Let me jump right in. 662 pages.
Yeah.
Wow,
What's the matter with you? Stop
chonker.
recommending big books for me.
But when they're
It
good,
reads
it's
quickly.
so good when they're that long.
Yeah.
You get to just kind of wallow in it. It's fabulous.
And I don't know if there's an audiobook for this. I didn't look. I
That's
don't think
fine.
there is.
I mean, I'm done with TBRs the way I've been doing them. So it really doesn't matter how long a book is, because what I'm doing now is I'm just reading the book, and one book at a time. And when I finish, there's no way I can only read one book at a time, but I will read that book, and when I'm done with it, I'll start the next one, and I'm not going to put pressure on myself. That's what I have learned over this last month, because I've actually been tracking it since I'm making a video every day. And I'm like, I feel so much pressure to get the list done that it's not even super enjoyable to read, because I'm like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And so now for May, I have the first book that I'm going to read, and that's it so far. And when I finish that, then I'll roll and see what the next one is and go from there. But it's just removed all the pressure, because I don't have this list of like 25 to 30 books like on top of me. So
Yeah, I try to keep my
joy.
must reads to 3 or 4 a month. And those are my buddy reads. You know, we have shows that we're gonna have, and I've got to get those read. And then anything else is just whatever I'm in the mood for.
right. Well, and that's what I did. Like, I'm reading the Priest series with Steve, Priest of Lies and Priest of whatever they're all called. And then our 24-hour read along thing that we have going. And so there are ones like that. I'm reading Wheel of Time really slowly with Andrew. And so there are ones that, I will read, but I still don't feel that like I have to do this kind of feeling. So
How many books do you read a month, Amanda? It's a lot, right?
I average about a book a day. Yeah.
I don't know.
So right now, I don't even know how many books that I've read this month, but I'm somewhere around 28 or 29. So it averages out to about one book a day.
Wow. That was my
I don't know how you
12th
do that.
for the month.
That's a good amount too. I don't even, if I had my bullet journal, I could tell you, I think I'm at 8. This will be my 9th, I think. Actually, I think I'll be at 10, because I finished another audiobook earlier today. I think was my 9th. So
I have a hard time falling asleep. So when I lay in bed at night, I read audiobooks until I'm like about to go to sleep, and then I turn it off and set it down, and then I go to sleep. So, and I just don't sleep very much. So
Yeah, I do audio before.
So Kitty says she hasn't even read that many books this year.
So I got this right here. This is called My Reading Life, a book journal, and it's by Anne Bogle. She has that What Should I Read Next podcast, and she also has a website called Modern Mrs. Darcy, where she talks about books. Anyway, this holds 100 books. And
Didn't you finish that the other day?
I did. I filled it up on the 12th of April. I finished the book. So I was like, well, that was kind of a waste of money, because I'm not going to keep buying them for the rest of the year. So yeah, my call pile will tell me I'm at 116 books for the year.
Wow. That's
amazing.
I'm hoping that number starts to go down when I'm not feeling the pressure, because that's part of the problem.
Well, you can actually enjoy it.
Right. And like, there are YouTube videos that I want to watch, and there are other things that I want to watch, but I'm like, oh, well, I need to finish reading this book. And so it's almost like I can't do anything else because I need to read the books. So this way, I'm hoping it'll be like, I'll read the book. Like, this is what I'm reading, but I don't have to read it. So I don't know.
That's awesome. Because I don't do it like a normal TBR because I struggle to read new books since I had the stroke years and years and years ago. I can read brain fluff, like I can do the romances and the sort of not heavy world building stuff. I can read those, but things like The Blade itself, I will only read one new one like that a month. So I don't ever get into a TBR. I'm like, no, my heavy new book is this book this month. Anything else I read over that is what I want to read.
Yeah.
Whether it's a reread or brain fluff, doesn't matter. So, and I watch so many booktubers who have these enormous TBRs, and I'm like, are you actually having fun? Like,
Right.
Are you, or are you just pushing to get it done?
Yes. And I have fun mostly because things happen. Like, the books that I read are good because if I don't like the book, I just quit reading it. Like, I'm not going to force myself to read a book that I don't like. And so the books are good, and I enjoy being able to talk about them, but it is still that like background feeling of you're behind and you're late. Like, that's just what it feels like. It's running through my head the whole time. Like, so
that's hard. That's really hard.
Yeah. But so anyway, it's
mental.
Yeah. It's got more to do with it mentally than it does anything else. So I'm
no one needs that kind of negativity in their life.
No, and especially not about books. I'm like, what? It's reading books.
It's supposed to be fun. Yeah.
That's
so
why
Nicole
we're
says
all
she's
here.
read 18 books in April, and she plans to read 24 in May.
Nicole is doing, Derry, if you're not on her Discord, you might want to go to her Discord, but she is doing an around the world reading thing when she's created like a whole bunch of stuff for it. But she's starting with the A's and going alphabetically through the countries. So I told her I would start at the Z's. So I'm starting at the other end.
Meet you in the middle.
But she's been reading about one book a week from each of the countries. But she said she's having a problem now finding some of them because, like I said, she's in Australia. So anyway.
Oh, it's impossible trying to get stuff here.
Right.
The minute you're in the southern hemisphere, it's like,
right.
There's countries down there?
Right.
Honestly.
Inhabited places? What? Yeah. So anyway, her Discord is pretty cool. Just as far as like the resources and stuff. So
absolutely.
Throw a link in the chat, Nicole, for your Discord.
Yeah.
But okay, Saf, but were they good? Were the 7 books good that you read this year?
Yeah, that's what's important.
It really is.
Yes.
I've read 36 books this year, and I have way too many 3 and 2-star books. It's like, was it worth reading all those? Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost never give a 2-star read because if a book is looking like 2 stars for me, I'm out.
Yeah.
I stopped even keeping that in any of my trackers as a possibility because I know I'm not going to finish a book. I go from DNF to 3 stars.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Should I adjust my ratings? Because a 3-star for me is I liked it. You know, I love it.
I liked it enough to keep going.
I liked it to keep going. But maybe that's not a true 3-star for me. Maybe that's more of a 2-star for me. And then it gives me more room to distribute those books that I really liked. You know, so I could separate the ones that are just so good. What I would like to have is just a handful of 5 stars. These are the best books I've ever read, but right now I don't have really room. It's like 4 or 5 star, you know, if for me, it's right now, it's, if I loved it, it was amazing, and I'll reread it, it's a 5-star.
Yeah.
But a 4-star is, I loved it, but I got what I wanted out of it, and I probably am not going to pick it up again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of 5-star books.
You don't reread, Amanda?
No, but I want to. And actually, I'm kind of forcing myself to reread because I've got Daniel's books back here, and I'm making my book club read the Nightmareland Chronicles, starting with Nightfall, and I'm making them read it. And I was like, oh, I'm totally going to go back and read them with them as they're going through it. So
Cool.
I'm doing that, but only the reread is great.
Yeah, that's disappointing. You've got to read. I don't know what you're picking up, but you might want to like just scrap what is on your TBR and reshuffle. Yeah. So that's what I did. So I added a bunch of thrillers to my TBR recently because I was really slumping with fantasy. I just wasn't reading anything that was really exciting me other than Malazan. And I hope I'm saying that right and nobody's gonna come at me.
Well, Erickson doesn't care, so no one else has the right to have a go.
But man, the fan base does. I can't ever figure out which one is the most popular. I saw a meme the other day that had a man and a woman walking towards each other, and the man tipped his hat and said "Milady," and she said "Malazan." So I was like, okay, is that I was supposed to say?
That's cool. Have you been watching any of the big discussions that they've had over the last few months over Malazan? Because Philip Chase does them, and the ones he has with AP are just mind-boggling. They're so good. And I haven't read it.
I was going to say, I've only read the first book. I just try to avoid discussions, even if they say they're spoiler-free. I like going in practically blind when I read a book. Like, I don't want to know. Just tell me the genre. That's all I need to know. Like,
I think the ones that they do after are good because it's like, okay, I've got all this in my head now. And you can see the confusion in the comments of, did I understand that right? Yeah. Am I getting what I should have got? And those seem to be really helpful.
Those are the things that I wonder about when I'm picking a book to read. Like, I read the first book, and you read the first chapter, and you're like, oh, okay, we've established these people, and this is what they're doing. And then you go to chapter 2, and you're like, hold up, not one person from chapter 1 is now in chapter 2. I'm like, what did you just do to me? And so I thought, my plan was, okay, well, I'm going to go get a list of the characters that are in this thing, and then I'll be able to like make notes. So I Googled, and there are 602 named characters in the series. And I was like, do I really want to take a class to be able to read this book? Is that the amount of effort that I want to put into this book, or do I just want to be entertained? And I think that's what, like, somebody like Philip Chase to me seems like that's the kind of reader he wants to be. Like, he likes analyzing the books and pulling those things out of it. And I think that I want to be like, that's my dream reader, but that's not who I am. Like, that's how I want to read until it comes down to it. And I actually start. And then I'm like, no, I don't actually.
He was live with Yolene and Jimmy and Steve.
That was today on Steve's channel, right?
Yeah. And Philip, it was quite charming actually, because he's obviously like, I actually would have preferred to just read it and let it just flow through me rather than wanting to stop and analyze what was happening all the way through. And I think that's probably the best thing for people to read. As far as the mindset when they read Malazan, just read it, just let it flow through, and then afterward look at it and go, that was what it was all about.
That is great advice, actually, especially from Malazan, because I started Gardens on the Moon thinking, I want to know everything that's happening. And because he throws things at you, nothing is spoon-fed to you, that I felt like I had to absorb everything. And it was very frustrating and stressful. It's like, okay, and I'd have to go back and reread something because I didn't think I fully understood it. And then I watched this video with a small channel, this husband and wife team, and he's read all of them and he wants to reread them. And so he's having her read them with him. And they do a video every week for how far they got on the book. And she was doing the same. She's like, I don't know what's happening. I don't understand she's like, I don't know if I'm enjoying it because I don't understand. And he told her, he's like, stop trying to figure out what's happening and just read it.
And just let it happen.
Yeah, and she wasn't able to do that, but she did eventually like the book. But I took his advice. I was like, I'm just going to read it. And I enjoyed it for the reading experience. But then when we had the discussion and we actually started talking about all these things, I got so much more out of the story that way too.
Yeah,
so I think I'm just going to read them.
Works.
Yeah.
Yeah, is to just take it in and then process after.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's always the opportunity to reread when you're done with it.
Yeah. Well, when you know and you understand and you can just,
I've been saving videos like that. Well, any video that I see that is a discussion specifically of a book, if I've not read it, I'm not going to watch the video. But if it's on my list to read, I've been putting them over in their own, like I created a playlist for them.
Yep.
And then when I finish reading them, I go over and watch the video because I just get a lot more out of it. Even if it's a spoiler-free video, I'm like, oh, I know what they're talking about and what they like about that, or whatever. So
that's a good idea. I mean, I watch the Malazan ones because I know with my mental health, I'm not going to get there for so long. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be at that level where I can take on a world that complex. So I figure it's not spoiling because I'm not going to read it.
Right.
So I'm able to kind of just look from the outside and go, how much people are getting out of this series is really dependent on who is around them at the time that they're talking about it with and who are sort of giving them hints or not. And that seems to be really critical almost to people's enjoyment of the books is having somebody to help them kind of grasp, what they just read. That's what I've noticed.
I think that's what's beautiful about those books is it does drive those discussions. I mean, think about, for example, the last 2-star book, remember we were talking about ratings and, you don't have a lot of 2-star books because if they're that bad, you just don't finish them.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you guys, but I felt the need to finish Fortuna Sworn just to hate read it. Because I could not stand that book, but I wanted to be able to talk about it, right?
I quit it.
I didn't even start. I looked at the synopsis and went, no.
Well, I feel like, again, if I didn't have this pressure that felt like I need to keep going, I may have given it more of a chance than I did. But I was like, I have too many other things to read to worry about this nonsense. So I was like, no, I'm not doing that. But I mean, I get that. My problem is, so I know that it's difficult to write a book, especially after I wrote a book. And I was like, I'm never giving anybody a 1-star. Like, unless their book is super offensive, they put a lot of work into this book, So unless they're just like really being offensive, I'm not giving a 1-star. And I don't rate a book if I don't finish it. It's just done. Like if I DNF it, then I don't rate it at all. But it's hard for me to give below a 3-star because I realize how much it matters what the ratings are on your books if you're a writer. And so I'm like, I don't know.
Can't do it.
Like that's a lot of work. Even if it's a crappy book, it's a lot of work to write all the freaking words down. So I'm like,
and BookTube, if nothing else, has shown us how broad people's tastes are, and that your favorite books that you think is just the most amazing thing drives somebody else completely up the wall. They're like, how can you read this rubbish? So
I think that it's great that Nicole has like, this is what this means, and this is what, because mine is a gut feeling. I'm like, that's a 3.5. Like I just am. It's whatever I'm feeling. So.
I think it's interesting how many people add this I will reread as part of their 5-star. I thought I was unique in that, and I'm not. So now I know I'm average.
Well,
this is the niche of niches of readers. If only the best readers have found BookTube.
If I have to say what I will reread, I probably only have about 5-star books then.
I'll tell you,
you don't have a book that you reread like every year?
No. Why?
Oh my God.
Why would I know? No.
I mean, I've done so much rereading. It helps keep your quality high, I tell you, because you the ones that you want to keep rereading have to be good enough to hold up to that rereading.
Mm-hmm.
And then you read something new, and I'm finding that since I've started reading new stuff, it takes a lot for a new book to even come close to the ones that you've kind of culled the crap out of already. You're like, no, this is the standard, and this hasn't met it.
I guess, I guess that makes sense. I feel like I came so late to fantasy that every book I find, I'm like, oh, this is so good. And everybody's like, yeah, I know, we've been reading this for years. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I just got here to the party. And so
I'm more like, oh, it's so great. You're going to love it.
I know. I keep doing that for all of them. But I don't know, like, I'm really excited to reread Daniel's books. And I absolutely loved them the first time. But it's the first time that I've ever, like, wanted to reread something. So
That's
I don't
great.
know. I'm also thinking about when I finish The Dark Tower, going back and reading The Gunslinger again, which everybody says you see so many different things the second time. So I'm thinking about that too. But I got a long ways to go to get to the end of The Dark Tower.
Have you finished The Dark Tower yet?
No, I just finished Wizard and Glass.
How did you feel about it?
So good.
I like
some people
it.
don't like it, and some people are like, yeah, that was amazing.
Okay, it's because, like, if the Dark Tower journey is this big, Wizard and Glass gives you this much.
But isn't it huge? Isn't it like a really big book?
It's like a prequel, though.
But 90% of that book takes place in the past, and only like this much moves you forward closer to the tower. So you're like, beep, beep.
Okay.
And if you were waiting for this to come out, he wrote this book took him 26 years to finish.
Oh, you'd be so pissed, wouldn't you? Oh,
I was like, I was so glad that I wasn't even born when he wrote the beginning of it, but 26 years later. So he was like, hey, you know, this scene, I wrote it in 1970, and the scene right after it, I wrote it in 1996. So I was like, yeah.
That's a gap. I mean, having said that,
Kitty says,
Robin Hood took ages.
I think the way we read and what we want from books can change dramatically with circumstances. That is so true. And that's the reason why I like to reread things that I find were my favorites, because your life experiences change. But also, I'm a mood reader. So I may read something when I'm in the mood for this part of it, and then later I may reread it because I want something different out of it. So The Shadow of the Wind and all of the Cemetery of Forgotten books by Carlos Ruiz Zafón is my ultimate favorite book. And I've read it 3 times already. And I've gotten something out of it different every time. And one of the reasons is because all 4 of the books in that series are standalones, but they're part of a series.
Those are so great.
You can read them in any order, and you get something out of it depending on the order you read it. So that's what I've done. So the first time I read it based on whatever I picked up first. I actually read the second book first, and then the first, and then the second time I read it in the way that he wrote it, in the publication order. And so you get something out of it different. But also, I think I made myself slow down and really enjoy it. Whereas I'm one of these people that just consumes books. And it's not until, if that makes me love it enough to reread it, then the reread, I'm going to take my time and see what I can get out of it. If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
So I agree.
Oh, absolutely.
I agree with what Kitty's saying.
I know, I can't remember who said it. Somebody was saying that the first time you read a book, you're chasing the ending. You just want to know what happens. When you get the satisfaction from that, that's enough that makes you want to go back. The second time you're actually reading the story and you're reading the whole thing. You're not just chasing the end. And books that can give you so much more on that reread. Just, you know, because bad writing shows up when you're on a reread. It does, because you're looking at it going, how did I not notice that this was just ridiculous? This plot hole I could drive a train through. But you're so busy chasing the ending the first time through, you're not paying attention to that kind of thing. So quality shows. I'm
also curious, you, Amanda and Derry, and those of you in the chat, do you ever go back and change your ratings after some time? If you go, you know what, that was good, but I don't know if it was really a 5-star, if it was really 4-star. Do you go back and change your ratings, or do you leave them as your first impression?
I've recently gone back and changed my ratings for the Rainwilds part of Realm of the Elderlings. And I've increased them because...
Really?
Yeah. I've spent a long time since I found BookTube being a Rainwilds apologist. And I finally started listening to my own advice on it and just reading it for what it is instead of what I wanted it to be. And they're better than the expectation led me to believe. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this series justice by having these as, 3-star reads. They're 4-star reads. They're really good. I really enjoyed them. So yeah, I do go back and change them if I think my previous rating is unfair.
Amanda?
My son is coming to get his dog so he can go to bed. I do not go back and change them, mostly because, again, I feel like my brain is like, okay, what's next? What's next? Like, I'm already on the next thing. She's running from him because she doesn't want to go to bed. Come here, little girl. Here, she gets to say hi on the camera. Hi.
Hey, sweetie.
Hi, sweetie.
Now go to bed. She literally ran under my desk. Like, no, I don't want to go to bed with it. So. But I think that my brain is ready for the next thing. And so I don't take the time. And I think that's my whole problem anyway. And the thing that I'm trying to correct is that I'm just not taking the time. And at first I thought, I probably don't even remember what I read, but I did that at the end of last year. I went back and looked at my books in January and February, and I was like, do I remember what happened in these books? Like, because last year was like, I read like 370 books or something like that. And so just going back 300 books to go, do I remember what that was? And I remembered a lot of them, but that's not really the point either. Like, the point is, did I enjoy them and enjoy my time with them, or did I rush through? And so I think maybe that's why I don't. Do you change yours, Stacey?
I recently did on some, most notably Harry Potter, because I was going through one day to look at what my 5-star books were, and I was like, why did I give Harry Potter 5 stars? So I changed them to 4 stars because they were good. I enjoyed them at the time, and I was just getting into fantasy, so they were like, but if I want to compare them to some of the other stuff that I read, they are not 5 stars. So I did change.
I have a huge problem with the number of adverbs that the woman used in every one of those books. Like, I read them out loud to my children, and I got to the point where I was like, if Hermione says one more thing excitedly or quietly or softly, like, I cannot take one more adverb in this whole book. Like, I'm just done.
That's funny.
But a lot of people, I mean, I was an adult when I read them. A lot of people read them as they were growing up. And so they're the best for them. Like, there's no way they've got all that tied into their nostalgia.
That's why it's that nostalgia thing. Yeah. And I have to say, I won't change what I consider sort of growing books, like the teenage books that I read. And I'm not changing my ratings on those because they're not for the adult me or adult people who are looking at ratings. They're for the teenage audience who want to know what other teenagers thought. So I won't change books that are aimed at a younger version of me, even if I now look back and go, it was so bad, and I gave it how many stars? Because when I was that age, I did think it was that good. So that's fair, it's all, utterly subjective.
So Nicole leads hers at first impression. Kitty says she doesn't just decrease her rating, but she would increase it if she felt differently.
Yeah. And
Chadia has joined us. Good morning.
Good morning. just as Saf is leaving.
Saf, thank you for coming. It was good to see you again. I feel like it's been forever since I've hosted something. All right, guys. This is supposed to be reading sprints.
This is true.
So let's get some reading done.
I'm gonna read a new
Another
one.
30 minutes.
Yep, that'll make it almost 2 a.m.
Okay, I'm going to
We
read
can
Witch,
do it.
Please.
Oh, that's right. You got to start another one.
Yeah, what are you going to read?
Witch, Please
Oh,
by Anne Aguirre.
Witch, Please. Is that a cozy
it's
mystery?
brain fluff. I can't even remember who suggested it, but somebody did.
All right, see you guys in 30.
Okay.
Time's up. Only 10 more pages to the end of this book, y'all.
Oh, wow. Well done. What
And
did I
it's
read?
getting, I mean, it's been good, but it's like on the edge of my seat, like, ah! And it's making me cry.
Excellent. It's a sign of good writing if it hooks
It
your
is.
heart and makes you feel stuff.
I used
Yeah, but not on
to
camera.
I used to refuse to even start reading a book if everybody said, "Oh, it makes you cry." I was like, "Well, I'm out." Then I didn't. But I think it goes back to what somebody was saying about your circumstances determining
Yeah.
what kind of books. Because for the longest time, I just needed those fluff books. And now I just
Yep.
think I'm at a point where my kids are older. They don't require as much from me. And I can like use more emotions in books instead of.
Yep, I get it.
So
Ilana's jumped on. So are you binging Heartstoppers the show, or are you reading the books?
I tried to get
Yeah.
the books.
What is Heartstoppers?
It's a graphic novel series.
Oh, okay.
That was just our second sprint, and my goal is to stay on until I finish this book. So I have 10 more pages. So at least one more sprint. We'll see how we go. It's 2 a.m. here right now. So
Right. We'll
We
see.
party hard this corner of YouTube.
I might be out before the next sprint. I'm already
Oh.
yawning too much.
Fair enough.
So
But I am over 50% of the way through.
Yay!
wow, you might finish this whole book while we're sprinting. Nicole says, I'm not really annotated books before, but there are many things I want to remember in this book. I'm only 50 pages in, and there's a word for her. That's the memoir, right, that she's reading.
Yeah.
I've only annotated 3 books. All of them were on a reread. So I don't annotate my first time around because, like we were talking before the sprint, as Derry was saying, we're kind of just chasing the end. I just want to read it to read it.
Yeah.
But if I reread, I like to annotate because the next time I reread, I want to look at some of the things that I caught, if that makes sense.
I can't bring myself to write in books. I can't. I'm becoming less controlling about it, but I still can't.
So Chadia says she came in late. So I'm assuming by your icon here that you're female. So excuse me if I'm misgendering you. That what are we reading? So Derry actually finished she was reading Blade itself and she finished it. And now what are you reading?
Witch Please, a romance about a witch who owns a fix-it shop. And it is so charming so far. I'm having a really good time.
And Amanda?
I'm reading Aru Shah and the End of Time. I have to look at it every single time before I say it. But it's on Kindle Unlimited, and then my library had the audio version. So I have both the Kindle and audio version. So
Cool. I didn't know that was Kindle Unlimited. My son read it. So I have the physical copy somewhere on his bookshelf. I am reading, hopefully finishing, Legacy of the Bright Wash by Crystal Matar. It's also on Kindle Unlimited. It's a self-published book, and she's one of the finalists. This book is one of the finalists for the SB. I can't remember the initials. Self-published SPFBO, so self-published fantasy blog off. For this book is for the 7th. I think this is the 7th iteration of that contest award.
And is it still really, really good? Are you still like, this is...
Yes, except I'm at the last 10 pages, and I can see that there's going to be a conclusion. But it's definitely a series, and I don't want to wait for the next book.
Oh, yeah.
Damn it.
I know.
I don't like reading cliffhangers, but I am so bad about it. When I write stuff, almost everything I write has a cliffhanger, which is horrible because I hate to read it. And I do it all the time. I'm like, why did I do that? Like, I don't know.
That is so funny.
It's because you're secretly a sadist. That's why.
Yes, for sure.
But Kitty said she read 20 pages in
Oh,
Conjuring
wow.
Women and 80 pages left. It deals with the time around the end of slavery in the U.S. That title sounds familiar. I think I've seen it around. I like historical fiction. I think next to fantasy, that's my favorite.
That one's listed
fantasy
as historical magical realism.
Ooh, even better.
Yeah, that is intriguing.
Yeah. I have really been trying to get into. I bought 100 Years of Solitude. Is that what the name of it is? Which is supposed to be, magical realism and historical fiction. And I picked it up at the bookstore and read the first 10 pages, and the writing. It's a translated fiction, so. But the writing is just amazing. I mean, literally nothing happened in those 10 pages, but you're being introduced to the characters. And I just loved it. I was so intrigued with the way that he introduced these characters. And it's kind of funny because it's one of those books where the first line just catches you. And I think the first line was like, before he was hanged, kind of like the title of the second First Law book.
Yeah.
But the way that it started was like the son of this man before he was hanged was thinking about his father, and then you're introduced to his father, and he's quite a interesting gentleman. But yeah, so that's probably would be my first technical magical realism book, because I have to have read others. I know that one has definitely been flagged as magical realism. So once I read it, I'll probably go, oh, I've read something like this before. I know what you mean by magical realism.
Genre is just such a weird concept. And A Critical Dragon, AP, has been doing a thing on defining fantasy. And that has been blowing my mind. Just where are the boundaries of fiction and fantasy, and fiction and science fiction and speculative fiction? And I was like, oh God, I have never had to think about it that hard, because I thought I knew what it was. And then he starts talking and you're like,
It was a long time before I realized that on Goodreads, like over to the side where it says the genres or whatever, those are just what other people have listed it as. But I thought that was where they put the genre. And so I looked for the longest time. And then I was finally like, wait a minute. Somebody's got this listed as like young adult sci-fi, and somebody else had adult fantasy. And I was like, I'm confused as to what.
I find it interesting seeing what some of the friends have got their shelves as listed as, and some of it's great, and some of it like, okay, that makes perfect sense. It'll be read 2000, read 2020. Mine is all over the place, except for my romances, which are separated into romance G, romance R, and romance X.
That's awesome.
That's so funny.
And I thought, now I need to figure out something similar for other genres.
I don't have any shelves except read in 2021 and read in 2022. Like, I don't keep anything else over there on Goodreads. I keep all my want to read stuff on Storygraph because it has tags. Like, I just went in there and put the book you were just talking about in my Storygraph, and I put Stacy's All Booked in the tag. That way, when I get to it, I'll be like, oh, Stacy was talking about that book, and that's where I got it from.
That's kind of cool. I like that idea.
I've gone old school on it, and I literally just write them down.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that either.
And who was talking about it.
Right. I
I usually have a notepad here when we do shows so that I can write down all of the books that everybody talks about.
I may never get to most of them.
That's Becky Chatty, right?
Yes,
I
and
keep
that is an
getting that
excellent
recommended
book.
to me.
It is
Me
such a
too.
good book.
It's on my list. I haven't read anything by her,
It's
but
the very first book on my list.
Her books are very wholesome, but also very interesting. Character driven. She does a great job with her characters. It's one of the I cried in this book too. So, but
No, that's good because means
happy
you're connected.
tears. Happy tears.
Yeah.
Um,
You know.
what was I gonna say?
Storygraph. Goodreads.
Oh, so in Goodreads, I have a lot of my shelves are for me to be able to go back
Yeah.
and like I have I set a TBR at the beginning of the year that's like last year was 20 21 books I wanted to read in 2021. And what I do is I pick books that are based on my own prompts, like the book I've had on my shelf the longest, things that I want to get. And they're all books that, unless I have a highly anticipated read that I'll toss in there, they're mostly books that I already own, just so I can make sure I get some of that stuff off my shelf. But it's things that I'm excited about reading. So I have like a shelf for that so I can keep track of it. And then I have like did not finish. So I will if I read enough of the book that I'm like, I'm just not going to read this, it's not something I'm going to come back to, I will flag it as read so I don't try and read it again. But then I won't rate it and I'll put it in the do not finish shelf. I did not finish shelf, so I know why.
Yeah.
There's
I've got
no
a DNF
rating on there
shelf as well.
Yeah. And then I have I also have shelves to where the book is. So if I have something on my want to read shelf and I bought it in a physical book, I'll have it on there as physical so I know where to find it. Or if it's on the Kindle,
just says
or it's
Audible.
on Audible. Yeah.
So I know that I've got it, but I've got it on Audible.
That's what I do with the tags on Storygraph. I say physical.
I'm going to try that.
Kindle. If it's Kindle Unlimited, I'll put that on there. But
because it lets you import, doesn't it, Storygraph?
It does. It imports everything from Goodreads over. And
it's free?
Yes. People who have huge Goodreads have had issues with it transferring everything correctly. But
I'm enough of a geek, I'd probably, because it would probably do it through a CSV file, yeah?
Oh, I have zero idea. I just click transfer. Like, I have no idea what it does, but I have a Psalm for the Wild Build, because it was like a Kindle deal or something, 99 cents one day, and I bought it. That's another thing. I put it in Storygraph. Like you can mark it as owned, and so then I'll put I own it on Kindle or Audible or however I own it. And
I'm totally going to check out that site because I've been, trying to do that thing with the shelves. I've never even heard of it before.
And it's not Amazon, so hooray. But no, yeah.
Oh, good.
It's really, well, there you go. It does really pretty graphs, apparently. And I'm a fan of graphs because I'm a data geek. So
you could always tell when we start to get tired because we kind of slow down our conversation.
That's okay. You've only got 10 pages left, so there's nothing to say we don't do like a 15-minute, 20-minute sprint.
I'm going to finish
you guys can go to bed.
I was going to say, I can be in it for a 15-minute sprint. Can you finish it in 15 minutes?
I think so, because I don't even think it's a full 10 pages, because I think there's like author notes and stuff. So it's 10 pages to the end of the book. But I don't think there's more than, I can look right now. There's only 8 pages left.
Okay.
For me to read. So is everybody good for another 15 minutes?
Yes. But over in the private chat, I put the link to Nicole.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know how to add that. Well, I mean, I do, but I have to log in, and I'm not up there.
In other words, Amanda can't be asked.
I tried to do it earlier, but I tried to go over and do it. And I don't know if it's because I put a link in. Is it asking you to approve it or something?
It went to private chat.
No, I know, but I put it in the other one first, thinking that I could just go comment. But a lot of times when a random person tries to put a link in there, it's like, no, you're
Yeah,
not.
because you can have it in your settings to not allow links.
So maybe I need to do it. Let's see if it'll let me. That's weird because I've never noticed it doing that before. Okay, let me know if you guys see it come up in the comments. This is Nicole's Discord. Oh, it's not even letting me paste it.
Yeah, you might have it in your settings as not letting it put links in your chat.
How do I change that?
Well, when we come off live, you can put it in the description.
There it is. I see it.
Now, I don't know if that is a
It's
a
if
temporary.
you copied what I put in there, it's a forever link. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I should say what that is.
So I'll go and look at that in a bit. So yes.
Yeah.
I am going to join that Discord.
Lovely.
I am I'm still trying to get my bearings in Discord. It's just because I don't check it every day, and so then when I get in there, I'm all a little bit overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Listen,
I tell you what I did is I muted just about everything except the threads I wanted to read, and I'm slowly unmuting channels as conversations are happening that I'm interested in, and that's working for me. So
that's what I do too, is I just muted everything because it got to be, and also I have a little like rundown of things I do when I first sit at my desk in the mornings. And one of those is check Discord. And so I just open it up and I check, like, there are a few things that I just look and see like what people are reading or what's going on a couple of things. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done. And maybe I'll check it later, but I'm horrible about checking later. But at least I've checked in once a day. So
yeah, I do similar. Open my computer, check my emails, check Discord, respond to anything direct on Discord, check the Hob threads, see who's reading what, who's got questions. And if I feel like it, I'll read other stuff. And if I don't, well, I just mark everything as read and I'll come back later.
I don't do any of the challenges on Storygraph, but I mean, that's not true. I did what's the Books and Lala has the one
buzzword?
The buzzwordathon, that's on there. And then there's a ton of challenges, but that one specifically is on there. And so I've done that. But they have a new feature now where you can buddy read. And so if the person has a story graph and you have a story graph, you can say you're buddy reading it with this person. Also, if you're reading a book, Storygraph can check and see who else is reading that book, like strangers, and you can buddy read with them.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, I'm totally looking at. I'm definitely.
That's like a new thing they just started, is the buddy read thing. So I haven't tried it with a stranger, but it did ask me. It was like, "Hey, do you want to read Wheel of Time with a random dude?" I was like, "No, thanks. I'm already reading it with a random dude." So.
No, I like that idea. It's like that meme that used to go around going, "What's with Netflix? You know, why can't it tell me there are 6 singles who also binge this series?"
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, you can find people with the same book tastes. That's always a good thing.
All right, I'm setting us up for 15 minutes.
Yep.
And then we'll celebrate when I finish my book.
Awesome.
All right, come on. I really appreciate you guys joining me for this so that I could have this motivation. And now I don't have to worry tomorrow. I can just enjoy the day.
That's right.
That's right. I need hanging out with you guys. This book too, so it was good for me too.
Well, there you go.
All right. See you guys at 15.
Righty.
All right, time's up, ladies.
Did you finish?
Yes, and it freaking ended on a cliffhanger.
Oh, no.
It was a good cliffhanger, though. And then it says in the author note that look for the sequel in 2022. So cross my fingers.
Maybe not too long to wait.
Maybe. This is the reason why I like to read series that are already completed, or at least have several books already in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do kind of wish. Oh, honey. Oh,
Hey, Hans.
Hey.
Good morning. We are just wrapping up, actually. I'm
Before
glad
these
you're
ladies go to sleep on camera.
Right?
Yeah.
I know.
So, yeah, it's 2:30 in the morning here, and
Oh,
I'm
wow.
going to go to
What are we
sleep.
here? 7:30.
But thank you
7:30 on a
guys
Saturday night.
for joining, especially last minute. I really appreciate it because now I can end the month of April on a clean slate, no books waiting to be finished.
Hooray.
And hopefully, Derry, you got your book finished, and
did.
Amanda, hopefully you'll get yours finished too, and we'll all be successful.
I mean, I just started mine tonight. So, and I'm now 58% of the way through. So,
Oh,
That's
no worries.
fantastic.
Smash that out tomorrow. All right, ladies. Enjoy your sleep.
Thank you
Yeah,
guys in the chat for
you.
joining. Have a good night.
It's
Good
been
night, everybody.
Bye.